is Ron Stewart, right?
Yeah.
I've been watching him all weekend, and every time I see him, he's got a different instrument. He's been playing with Lynn Morris and Rhonda, just cutting up there, having a good old time. And I don't know what your main instrument is. What is your main instrument?
Fiddle and banjo.
Yeah, because I never saw you play banjo until last night, and I'm going, hey, but anyway, he does everything just right on this stuff. I don't know much about to introduce you. If you want to say a little bit about yourself, how long you've been doing it, maybe, or
Yeah, I started when I was 3, and just before going any further, the fiddle is impossible. So anybody that's thinking they want to learn it, just forget it.
Amen.
No. I started when I was 3. My dad played fiddle. My mom played a little bit of fiddle. Played with my family band for about 15 years. Played with various other bands, and finally joined up with Lynn about 2.5 years ago. But anyway, thanks for coming this morning. Welcome. And encourage you to ask any questions that might be on your mind. No matter, don't think any question is stupid. The only stupid question is the one you don't ask. Anyway, anybody want to start?
Could you demo Georgia Bowie?
I'm sorry?
Demonstrate Georgia Bowie?
I really don't know much about that, to be honest with you. Sorry about that. I probably do it and just don't know the term for that particular style of bowling. So now that I've not answered the first question.
You're open. Here's one I know you can answer. Maybe you could slow down some of those classic Scotty Stone licks.
Okay, yeah, like the one in Lee Highway Blues.
Yeah.
What that is a pair of double stops. It's a D double stop. And another D double stop down the center two there. That's about cool.
Okay.
That's about it.
So bowing goes.
It's just,
So it's just back and forth.
It's back.
So you're playing thirds when you do a double stop?
Yeah, well, not necessarily every time.
Right.
That one is.
D is a unison with.
There's the third.
Yeah, I see.
That's a fifth. But yeah, it's just up and back row strokes, and you're using actually the open D and A in that way too, sort of. In between.
Is that there's another Scotty Stone that kind of, it's like,
Yeah, the notey one.
the fifth, I don't know. Yeah, that one.
That's actually a Benny Martin
Oh, it is?
type thing. Well, I mean,
I think-
everybody's used that, and I think Benny kind of coined that one. But yeah, it's just barring.
It's a doubling.
Yeah,
same finger.
yeah, it's just barring two strings with one finger there right on top of each other. So I use those a lot.
With those, do you find that a low action helps to play those, or?
Yeah, I guess so. This fiddle, I haven't had this fiddle but about 3 weeks, and then I've got the action a little bit high on it right now. But yeah, a lower action is usually better for those kind of hard type things. Depends on what you're used to too. You've been playing a while and you're used to high action, sometimes low action. You kind of booger up your double stops. It can spread them apart a little bit. And changing the action. But yeah, I like lower lower action skills.
What strings are you using?
Another Diodarium, really cool.
Is that an American fiddle?
Actually, it's a French fiddle. Like I said, I've had it about 3 weeks. Came from an estate auction back home.
Okay.
But seems to do pretty well, and I kind of fell in love with it actually when I recorded it.
Sounds pretty good.
So that Benny Martin was slowed down was,
It's just, but you can use those double anywhere you're using a single string. You can add that type of double stop to it. Just bar to it, and it'll give it a real bluesy type sound.
Could you play a little more of the Lee Highway Blues? You know, show those two things that you did up to speed.
Okay. How was that? Actually, I forgot a pair of double stops in that. Sorry about that. You come down every other time to it. So this one would be the high beat.
the high G.
That wasn't quite as fast as last night, but I hope that's okay.
That's great.
I'm
It's a
kind
little
of slow
early.
this morning.
Do you practice double stop scales and stuff? I mean, how do you get that kind of dexterity to do double stops in that quick succession?
Actually, my double stops is,
Okay, well, compared to all of ours, how do you get that kind of dexterity?
yeah, I'll sit around when I get the fiddle out and I'll run down a scale of double stops.
Like in thirds, do you all, or do you just change them as you go?
Sort of, I mean, I'll just try to run the scale with all double stops.
Okay.
So in other words, like if I was doing an A scale, I'd start with that. But the thing about here's another good thing about double stops. What I do a lot of times is I'll play a tune and use double stops, and I'll try to find alternates to use using the same root note or whatever. You know, try to find different double stops using that place, or kind of second position or something. But to go back to your question, it takes a long time. I've been playing 27 years, and my double stops still suck to me. They're kind of a mystery.
When you say they suck, what do you mean?
Oh, well, I mean, my success rate on hitting perfect double stops is not 100%.
Are you talking about intonation?
Yeah, intonation. There's a lot of factors, though. I personally have a problem with sweaty hands when I play. And when your instrument neck dries, then it becomes really sticky. You know, you don't move around kind of, you know, like you can when it's perfectly dry. So it just, sometimes they're there, sometimes I have to find them, you know, not go right to them. But, you know, the other important thing, I think, is once you get it set up on a fiddle, leave it alone as far as action goes. If you get something you like, you ever have to have the fiddle reset up again, you know, have it set up exactly the same for action, because when you change, you got to relearn double stops again. Your intonation, it's going to be off. You know, say if your action raises to 6/8 of an inch in the bridge, it's going to bring them in a little closer together. So, you know, I just try to set mine up exactly the same every time if I can change a bridge or another or whatever. Yeah.
I've tried to teach myself to play. I should have started when I was 7 instead of 70. I played mostly by ear. I was wondering, where can I find out fingering for double stops? You have to figure them out, or are there scales available?
There's probably, let's see, I'm trying to think. Do you take a magazine called Bluegrass Unlimited?
No, I don't.
There's several good, there's probably, I don't know if there's anywhere here that, like, where Bluegrass Unlimited is available, or.
Yeah, it is, over at Neon News over here, the newsstand, they have it.
You could look in there, they have several different companies that do videos, that would probably, be able to, you could probably find something in there on double stops that would help you out. Probably be good to maybe try to find a video, because you could see, correct, fingers if you needed to change positions or whatever. But that would be my recommendation, is try to find a video on it. You could probably do that looking for Bluegrass Unlimited.
There's no just simple book somewhere that says, here's the
Actually,
there
there probably are, actually, I'm sure Mel Bay Publications has probably got something out like that. I'm unaware of it, but they probably, I don't have to look at one. But yeah, there very well could be something like that.
Texas Music and Video has a video that covers that too.
All right.
They've got one that Vassar Clemens put out that's got a lot of double stop stuff. But
Yeah,
it's not the stuff that most of us use.
Right, well, if it's double stops though, it's probably pretty universal. I mean, you can
Yeah.
bring them back to,
He uses a lot of sixths and odd voicings that
Right.
sound great when he does it. But
right, they don't sound great when I do.
I hear you.
I have a question kind of along those lines. Did you grow up reading music, playing by ear, memorizing, and what's your thought on that transition? I have trouble going from reading the music to playing it.
I actually learned by ear. There's a lot of times I wish I could read music just so I could learn new stuff without having to hear it, from albums or whatever. My advice to you there is, are you playing in a band now?
No.
Or you'd like to probably, though,
Yeah,
right?
I think I'm thirsty.
My advice to you would be try to start training your ear to. Are you pretty good at picking out the melody of the song? Yeah, if you can get your ear trained to pick out the melodies of songs, and not have to look at any sort of music he's playing. It doesn't matter how simple that you're playing, which is the best way to start any kind of song if you're doing it. How you're playing as simple as you possibly can. Get that in your head, and then you can move on from there and get more double stops or whatever you want to do. But yeah, if you want to start playing with a band, that's try to train your ear to pick out melodies really quick. Anybody else? Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I want to ask you about a good entry-level bow, Ron.
Okay.
What was the question? I'm sorry.
A good entry-level bow.
Bows are kind of a funny thing. They're pretty much as important as the fiddle as far as tone. A terrible bow is going to make a good fiddle sound kind of terrible. But saying that doesn't mean you need to go out and spend $5,000 for a bow by any means. There's several, decent. You can buy a decent bow for, $200, $300, $400, and my advice there is don't. I know money's a factor with everyone, but the better the instrument and the bow that you can get a hold of, the quicker you're going to sound better too.
Okay.
Yeah.
The quandary I've heard about that is the chicken and egg. Buy the fiddle and then the bow, or do you find a good bow? I heard conflicting.
About which one to buy first?
Yeah, I mean, if you're dollar constrained, you don't want to go out and spend.
Right.
I mean, you may not be able to simultaneously spend the cash.
I would rather have the fiddle first if I had to pick one. If it was indeed a money thing where you wasn't going to be able to get a bow, you can find really cheap, like fiberglass made bows that you could fool with until you got the so you got the money to go ahead and do the more expensive bow. But if you're trying out fiddles, you also should try to whoever has the fiddle maybe use a real decent bow while you're trying it out, see if you like it. Because you might be a really good fiddle, and if you're trying it out on a terrible bow, it's not going to sound like it is otherwise. But
But talking about tone, I mean, you got a really strong tone. A couple of questions. How close to the bridge are you playing? And then how much are you digging in to the string?
that's a good point. I try, as a rule of thumb, to stay right in there in the center. But I vary a lot, especially from there back. Depends on the song, if I'm playing something, soft or, slow or pretty or whatever, I won't get back there towards the bridge because it gets a little bit harsh. But if you're in a situation where you want your tone to kind of get a little growly, you can back up just a hair and bear down the bow actually a little harder. You have to, or it sounds like that chalkboard sound. But if you come back a little ways towards the bridge and bear down, you can kind of get that growly tone. See if I can demonstrate a little bit like that. That'd be more like a good soft tone, but if you were you can move the bow back a little and get some growl. But
Do you twist? Do you move the bow?
I think it probably does some unconsciously. I don't necessarily try to do that. I try to keep it, pretty well perpendicular to the strings. If you do that a lot, you kind of lose your stick and get down, into the strings, and that kind of makes a really terrible tone.
Could you just, for folks who are just like raw beginners or haven't even done, just show us how to hold the instrument and how to hold the bow?
Yeah.
Real raw.
The fiddle, what you want to do with the fiddle, I don't use a shoulder pad, and I have nothing against them. I just have never been able to use one. Shoulder pad is actually a pretty good thing to start with because it keeps the fiddle elevated, up. Thing I see most students is this, and it's really uncomfortable for them too. You want to get that up on your shoulder, kind of resting, the back of the fiddle is resting against your shoulder, just sort of hanging down. And then you want to be able to, support it with your chin. That way you're not supporting the fiddle with your hand, and that kind of constricts it from moving, mobile. The bow, two different ways. Well, there's more than that, but the two most popular ways to hold the bow is I hold it under the stick with my thumb under the stick like that, and my thumb is in line with this second finger here, and then this one's up over somewhat, and then the little finger's kind of down on the tip of the bow. The other way is King Baker has a bow like this. It's the same thing, only your thumb is under the frog, all the way into there. Now there's 10,000 different variations both ways, but those are just kind of the two most popular. I like that under the stick just because you've got a little more control of the bow. And if you're under here, it's a little more wobbly, but either one of those would be acceptable.
How it sits in
the palm of your hand. Now that's something. I wish in a way, I had some classical training because that's a very good thing on the left hand. Just to have some classical training. But actually, they tell you it should be, your thumb should be under the neck like such. Mine is kind of awful, but I cradle it and, you know, like this. I don't know if y'all can see that.
But it's not down in,
No, usually I don't, try not to let it get like that. You know, where my whole hand's kind of shifted back like that. If it's plumb in the palm, it kind of gets weird when you're sliding and stuff. You want to keep your hand kind of out like that. Yes, I don't know. You're seeing. Yeah.
Go back to the bow. Again, I'm a raw beginner. What should you look for as far as quality? I mean, the sound, obviously, but sound comes with experience.
Right. Look, if you got someone who,
You trust in the violin job.
right, which is hard to come by, but either that or a friend that plays that's, you know, that you trust. You want a bow that's straight, you know, without any of this stuff going on. Now they're going to have the sway. Good bows do have the sway, quite a bit actually. Pernambuco wood is the best. There's Brazil wood, which is okay too.
Say that first name again?
Pernambuco. It's Pernambuco.
I've heard of Brazil, but no.
Right. Also, when you pick, balance is a big factor in bows. You can pick up a bow. Sometimes it'll want to do that. You know, it's real heavy on this end, or vice versa. It's real light on that end. You want to look for a bow that feels good and balanced. It's not trying to tip over on you. Those are the.
Does overall weight have any?
Yeah, there's golly. There's probably as many different ones of those as styles of bows and stuff, but I like sort of a little bit heavier bow. I'll pass around my two bows. I got two, one lighter, one heavier.
How expensive can a bow get?
Really expensive. You can go, you know, $8,000-$10,000.
Gosh.
Special hat.
They get up to 50,000-60,000.
Yeah, yeah.
How often do you have it repaired?
I can usually go about 3 months, and I don't lose a lot of hairs, but horsehair gets, they have actually little burrs on them.
Right.
Some of their knees.
Very different.
And they wear off, and then rosin won't, you know, stay on very well. So I usually, about every 3 months, rehair.
How many hours? I mean, translating that to hours. Would you
Oh
say
gosh,
days?
several. That's just, it'll take me a minute. It's probably 100, 150 hours.
Price of the average bow.
It's about 2,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
I wonder you hesitated before.
They're quite different.
Yeah, they're very different. One is octagon shaped, the other is round. And the weight on the round stick is not as heavy.
Back to your right hand, you were using fairly long bows on some of that fast stuff yesterday, and doing a lot of it with I have a really hard time keeping any kind of rhythm going if I'm using a lot.
Right. Well, you know, there's something you can do for that. I don't know if do you own a Dr. Beat or a metronome?
Yeah.
You can sit around and practice using long bows and just hitting your fingers, you know, to the Dr. Beat. You know, you can add the eighth nuts and so on in there. And you know, you don't want to get to where you're just relying on this for your timing. Your bow chops have to be in there. You know, there needs to be cutoff points that are pretty definite on the bow where the timing goes. You sit around and practice with the Dr. beat like that, and just practice hitting those strings on the eighth notes or whatever.
I noticed that Owen, who plays with James King, uses a lot of long bows. If you watch him today, you'll see that.
Owen's a great fiddle player.
The bow doesn't move much, but the notes are coming.
How much wrist action is there on some of that?
There should be quite a bit of movement in the wrist. Mine is stiffer than I would like for it to be. It's been broken, kind of stiff, but there should be a lot of wrist action. It helps on the transition when you're coming down to, you know, at the end of the pull.
Right.
You know, it just kind of makes it real smooth instead of like this. You know, you can hear that.
Yeah.
But yeah, you should. But you shouldn't worry. I mean, I don't know at what stage you are in fiddle.
Beginner, but I've had two instructors, and one, started out with quite a bit of motion in the wrist, and the other one has done nothing. I mean, it's been real rigid. So.
Well, you know, there should be quite a bit of movement in the wrist, but I will say that you shouldn't necessarily at this point worry. You know, I mean, you want movement in the wrist, but you shouldn't, you know, let it take over your,
Sure.
you know, your other stuff.
Yeah, she just
You
might
know,
be waiting
right.
too.
Yeah, that's probably what she is in fact. But yeah, you need that just for transitions, you know, from the end of the pull. It makes them a lot smoother.
So you string your own hair in the box? Can you like buy that just in the hair?
Yeah, you can do that. My dad's been a repairman for years, and it took me a long time to finally get a bow worth the crap when I got done. Yeah, you can save money by doing it that way, but unless you got a lot of time, and I'd recommend that. You had a question?
Well, not a question, but you brought up a good point about the wrist, is that most of us are in the situation where we have other activities, whether they're work activities or whatever. So don't be afraid to try something a little different. I have a right shoulder that I got dislocated about 20 years ago. The last couple of years, occasionally it slips out, and I have no idea that it's even done it in sleep. And I've had this knuckle broken on this hand, and now after enough years of working in the saw room, I'm getting arthritis in my two thumb joints. So I always used to hold the bow the way you did, and I'm finding now that it's more comfortable for me to play without pain.
To bring it up the side of the stick?
No, under the frog.
Right, yeah. Yeah, the one end of the stick can get kind of crampy if you're not careful. I mean, if you try to hold it too hard,
right?
You know, and I catch myself doing that even on faster tents sometimes. You know, I'll be really fitting.
I mean, things happen, so it's not
Right.
a bad idea to, you know, to consider that there's alternate ways that you can still.
Right. Yeah, for sure. Back to the double stop. I was talking about the double stop there earlier about my double stops kind of not being perfect. Both of my little fingers have been broken, and that plays a role on my left hand too, because it doesn't work as good as it should, you know, and sometimes it'll mash the strings instead of actually going up and over, you know, and kind of give out the spot. And that kind of makes double stops interesting when you're on stage. You don't know what's going to happen. You know, is it going to work this time, or is it, you know? So.
Do you do some of your own setup work also?
Oh yeah.
You do all that?
Mm-hmm.
You move the post and then
right.
and all that.
Yeah, I was fortunate enough to, like I say, have a dad who's a repairman.
Well, that's interesting because Stewart Duncan was here last year and he said the same thing.
Yeah.
He did a lot of his own.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I was fortunate enough to have him all the years and then learn the trade from him. And, you know, for that I'm thankful not to have to rely on taking it somewhere. Not that there's anything wrong with that, it's just a lot simpler if I can go home and I need to do something just to do it.
How do you put that up? Do you put one hair at a time?
No, it comes in a bunch of hair.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't
No, that's fine, but it does come out in the hank that it's in.
Sounds like you grew up in a band situation more than, say, a contest fitting situation.
Yeah, actually, I did the contest thing for a while, but we played with, like I say, my folks' family band for about 15 years. And I got to say, I think that done more for me than anything is at that early stage playing in a band. You know, you learn the team type player, you know, and there's nothing wrong with contest either. I don't get me wrong. I've done those too, but if you can work with the band, you really, you know, you grow in leaps and bounds. I think up here a lot faster, you know.
Musicianship.
Yeah, and backup sure is. You know, I should talk a little bit about that. First of all, I know nothing about it, but backup's probably the hardest thing for me on the fiddle. And the thing I try to do is to stay out of the vocalist melody or, you know, whatever they're singing. Especially working with the female vocalist, it can really get hairy, you know, because the fiddle pretty much exactly like the tone of the female voice. And boy, if you match up some notes, you're kind of, you know, the singer doesn't like it.
You're in the doghouse.
You're in the doghouse. You're getting ready to have a band meeting. No, it is. It's a challenge, you know, to try to stay off the melodies of the singer. But that's what, you know, that's what I strive to do, is just do something and stuff that's not real notey. In other words, a lot of you know, behind the singer. You don't want to take away. You know, you don't want people to be really paying attention to you. Right. You know, you just want to kind of make the singer sound good. And doing a lot of that kind of tends to get in the road, and you'll have another band meeting from the band leader too. But
you play, maybe when the bows come around, you can show us some of the chop rhythm that you might do, sort of backbeat mandolin stuff.
Sure.
Getting back to the pressure on the ball, you basically, are you using the weight of the ball?
You mean for
Is that very for the pressure on the strings?
No, I'm adding pressure.
Okay.
Beyond just the weight of the bow. If it's something like I did a while ago that was supposed to sound kind of sweet, I'm not putting very much pressure on it, but the other stuff, you know, right. We was talking about the chop rhythm things. How many of y'all remember Paul Warren from Flat Scrubs? He was my hero, one of them. And he done this little top rhythm like that I love to do. It's actually it's kind of bouncing.
And you can just barely hear it too.
Right, yeah. That's kind of cool on faster tunes. You know, you wouldn't want to do that on something real slow like Mama's saying, because you get a band meeting.
I'm really ignorant here. Is that the chop? Is that just the bouncing? What do you mean by chop?
Yeah, that's just the off.
Just bouncing the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, like my foot would be the bass beat there.
Sure.
And
So wait a second. Is the chop the beat or what you're doing on it?
it's the back
Okay.
beat. Yeah, the chop is the back beat.
Okay.
It's the off beat. Chop's
Yeah.
the off beat.
Simply why.
Yeah,
I was getting ready to get into that. Some fiddlers use this, and I do sometimes. If I need volume on chop, I'll use it up here. You know, you can dig in and get more volume. But I kind of like this end just because it feels more like I'm in the middle of something.
Yeah, that's, I noticed that about you. You chop with you.
Right.
Way up on the.
Yeah. Well, the other thing is that little bouncy thing that happens. It's harder to do here. You can do it, you know, but it just doesn't sound quite the same as up there. It's easier to bounce the bow.
You do a lot of long bowing and
Try
just
to.
get double stop tones, staying with chords.
Yeah, on the backup, you mean?
Yeah,
Yeah, it depends
just
on.
fill it in tone.
Depends on the song, you know. If the sound's really bad or something on stage, I'll stay away from double stops behind singer and just work on single notes. Because if the sound's really bad on stage, you can kind of hear tones that aren't even there. You know, it generates some stuff, you know, and you'll start playing to that if you're not careful. And then the singer hates you, you know. I just
Yeah, really.
yeah, the phantom stuff.
They were up there on stage yesterday.
Right. Yeah. But sounds great, you know, and everything. I'll do double stops behind them, you know, as long as they're not too often out of tune.
If you're doing long tones, though, you'll harmonize the singer.
Yeah, that's something. It doesn't have to be the harmony part directly on. You know, it can be skipped apart, whatever. You know, as long as it's not on the melody. You know, and guy singers are the same way. I mean, the fiddle's, you know, it's basically a voice. You know, and you can really tear somebody down playing the same notes as they're singing. It's really awful. I guess Stewart Duncan's the best backup fiddle player in the world, in my opinion. He's incredible, you know. The choice of what to play is just perfect. You know. Any more questions?
No, but you're right there with him.
Oh, bless your heart, thanks.
You know any pretty waltzes?
Yeah, I'll play a waltz. I'll mention this. I got up about 10 minutes before the workshop, so I'm not bringing it with me. But I have a waltz video out, which is about a month or so. And if you guys are interested, I'll run up to the room and get those and come back down to the lobby there.
Oh, cool.
By the elevator or whatever. But, you got any particular one in mind?
Wednesday night or?
Wednesday night. That's been a long time.
Sorry. Do another one.
Anybody else got any questions?
Do you have a preference on strings?
Yeah, I used Diodario Helicore. Those are my favorite. I used Dr. Mastics for a long time, the spiral core, but I've been using the Diodarios for about 2 years now, and they're my favorite.
Fairly new.
Yeah, I think about 2 years they've been out, but they're my favorite fiddle string.
Do they change? I put some heel chords on my old K bass, and I had the fire chords before, and it totally changed the character of the bass. Totally. Now I really like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
Well, they're
I'm more neutral or something about it.
I think so. The fire chords are pretty twangy, which I'm not downing them. I like it, but the Darios sort of have a good warm, but yet a bitey tone. I mean, they're kind of like the best of the gut and steel put together.
Okay.
But they're my favorite.
Do you find you can make a big difference by moving your post around in your bridge?
Yeah.
Bad fiddle sound good oftentimes, or
Okay.
I mean,
This sounds pretty harsh, but a bad fiddle's a bad fiddle. And, I mean, you know, you can help them to a certain extent. Usually, when I get a hold of a bad fiddle, like if I go to an auction and I buy a Strad copy and I string it in and it sounds awful, I'll regraduate it. I'll take the top off and regraduate it because there's only some. The post will even up. It'll change your tone. It'll change your tension and your strings, and all that, but you can't make a bad fiddle great, but, unless you really work, regraduate.
What is regraduate?
Yeah.
Okay, like thinning the top down, recarving the bass bar,
And the bass bar is?
It's a brace that runs along the G side of the fiddle on the top. It's a brace there.
If you went into the next room and looked at all those fiddles laying out there, do you think you could tell by looking which ones are going to sound good?
I could probably pick them up and tap the top and tell you if they were going to sound good. After you've done it for a while, you start, being able to recognize the tones and the taps, and the back has a lot to do with it too. If the back is too thick, it's going to sound real thin, So they got to be graduated right in both top and back. But if the fiddle's bad, I'll take the top off and thin it down some and work on the bass bar.
How would you do that? Would you sand it?
Yeah, well, actually, we've got these little planers and things that because graduation changes from area to area and these things. But so you could sand,
Don't try this at home.
Don't try this at home. Don't try this at home. Especially on a really expensive fiddle.
I can't tell from here. Do you round off the bridge, sand down the
I don't know if you can. Well, it's
classic straight.
Yeah, I don't round if you're talking about the edges.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't go on down, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I don't do that.
Somebody told me it makes it a lot easier on the double stops.
Maybe that's why mine are terrible.
Your
It
bridge
might
is pretty
be.
flat though, right?
Yeah.
That's pretty flat.
Well, I guess so.
Yeah.
Pretty much matches the contour of the fingerboard. That's what I usually do when I set up. Is try to match the arch of the fingerboard. If I got an A string and a D string that are higher than the E and the G for a big arch, I'm totally screwed up big time. But it's what you get used to, I guess, whatever.
I think a lot of that has to do with, there's a combination of things there. Steel strings, you can get away with a flatter bridge than you can with
Right.
gut or furlong.
Right.
And a lot depends on how tight you're used to, how much tension and down pressure
Exactly.
you're with the bow.
Exactly.
And if you're playing a lot of double stops, or whether you're more into single.
Right. Yeah. That's exactly right. I kind of go against the grain though, because I play really hard with flat, kind of a flat thing. But I played 5-string until 3 weeks ago or 4. Played 5-string for a year, and of course, the arch is definitely a lot flatter on those. And man, you can really do some damage on one of those. On that C string, you know, you're going over for the G. And after playing a 4-string for 20-some years, and then I think I played a 5-string now, you know, every time I'd go to the G for a while, I'd be hitting C with it, you know. But, any more questions?
Yeah, something I've been experimenting with is getting some licks under your left hand in the key of B and then moving it up to C or back to B flat. And I think you do a lot of that. If you're playing in C, you know, in band, will you go up to second position?
Actually, it depends on the choice of notes. If I'm playing in C, though, I like to play out of first position a lot and use my little finger for the C there and play a lot out of first because you got a lot of choices there at first. Depends on what you're doing though. On the high side of C there, you can sure open up a lot of doors by coming down to second position. You know, you got your reactive on that and all that stuff. But I like to play C out first and use my little finger for the double side. So I got the freedom to run back around without changing.
And you usually stay in one position.
Well, no, I mean, I'll switch up depending on, you know, if I need to go to second position, I'll go. But just like in C, like one of the teams I played with, most of my blues is in C. I play it all out of first position. And it can be played out second either one. I just choose to play it out first. But if if the song needs to go to second, get on it there. Yeah.
I heard there was relative hearing loss on the left for some string musicians. Do you know what the dB is your left ear is exposed to?
I actually don't. I'm sorry, I don't know. I can sympathize with that though. Being a banjo player, I remember sitting on the edge of my bed at home practicing. You know, and for some reason the banjo always sounded better from the left ear. You know. And I probably lost 90% of my hearing in that ear from that. You know. Not really, but yeah, I think there probably is some. Last time I had my ears checked, though, they were even, which has probably been 3 years ago now. But
these are concert musicians, supposedly. I don't know how valid it is.
The woodwinds would take it the worst because they're right behind, sitting in front of the brass.
Yeah.
Percussion section. They get hard. Serious business.
If yes, like sitting in front of a bunch of banjos.
Oh yeah.
Dreaded danger. You got any more questions? I don't know what time it is or when we need to